to turn into a vision. To educate a new generations is our mission. Ears to the streets, yeah, we steady politicking. If it ain't about the change, mind your business.
Now wait a Gam and Mz, wave your hands with it. Wait a Gam and Mz, wave your hands with it. Now wait a Gam and Mz, wave your hands with it. We top pics like we all up on the gram with it. Now wait a Gam and Mz, wave your hands with it. Now wait a Gam and Mz, wave your hands with it. Now wait a Gam and Mz, wave your hands with it. We top pics like we all up on the gram with it.
Now tuned into another episode of Way to Gam in the podcast. I'm your host, Gam, and of course I got my sidekick, my co-host,
Mz Gogetta.
And today we have another special guest. He needs no introduction, however, we're going to allow him that time to actually do that. But before we do that, Mr. Skinner, how was your weekend?
My weekend was great. It was quite productive, I add. Yep, it was good.
Good to know. Ms. Go-Getter, how was your weekend?
My weekend was wonderful. Tiring, but wonderful. I had a really good time this weekend.
Oh, really?
How about you?
I had a good weekend. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and shout this out right quick, right? I went to the Black Effects Podcast Festival in Atlanta. When I tell y'all, I learned so much. And let me tell you something. Like, I learned a lot. But it was confirmation a lot for us too, like far as on the podcast level, because a lot of things that they were speaking of, we were already doing. So it's like, okay, let me know, okay, we're on the right path. But what they talked about most was like ownership, owning a lot of things. So they talked about like owning your, like trademarking your name. Okay, cool. But far as like
why you say okay, cool?
Because we've already done that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, but far as the ownership, like even as far as building your community yourself, like being able to reach them and stuff like that. So it was phenomenal. I had a good time.
That was good. That sounds interesting. I wish I could have went though, but I had a good time with my Eastern Star sisters.
So Amar, can you please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners of Way to Gam Minute?
Okay, thank you for having me. Way to Gam Minute. My name is Amar Skinner, and pretty much I'm from Suffolk, Virginia. I'm a native of Suffolk, Virginia. And I've pretty much lived to establish bases for reentry prevention and intervention. And as far as living for that, that came from experience with the wrong trials and errors that I had to kind of like run into to learn what I learned, to actually start putting myself in a position to articulate what's needed to be done in order to provide the adequate solutions to the problems I try to describe to fix. That's me in a nutshell. That's my.
Okay. That's you in a nutshell. But what, like you're from Suffolk, right? And you had some different trials and tribulations in your life. Like, so where did you grow up at in Suffolk?
Well, I grew up in Cypress Manor and also Lake Kennedy, because my mom moved from Cypress Manor to Lake Kennedy. Even though that did not stop me from going back to Cypress Manor, because once you're in the projects, your mom could try to move you out the projects with good intentions, but just moving me out the projects with good intentions wasn't enough to keep me from the projects. I mean, that's what my upbringing started at, kind of, so to speak. So I always would go back there because that's where my friends was at, that I considered friends, the guys in Lake Kennedy at that time. I just went to school with some of them, but we might have been okay, but they wasn't like my brothers at that point when my mom first moved back there. Now everything cool with each community and whatnot as far as Lake Kennedy and Cypress Manor. For me, the whole Suffolk cool. I'm cool with Suffolk. I'm cool with my city.
Okay.
You know, I don't have.
First of all, it's not your city.
It's
actually our city. It's our city.
It's our city. That's true. It's our city. And actually, I don't just claim the city. I rather just claim the whole country. If we're going to start claiming what's ours. That's kind of like on a small scale to me.
Oh, okay. You're going to claim the big thing.
So I'm not thinking about that city.
Okay.
Right.
You're thinking
but
about
in that light, I'm not thinking about it.
But listen.
But when I say my city, meaning that's the city I'm from, that's why I put that Eferm Museum down there.
Okay.
Because that's the city that I terrorized mostly and got locked up from that city and ended up in penitentiary.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so stay right there. Stay right there. Tell us a little bit about the old Amar.
So the old Amar is a person that was actually going through stages of development that wasn't the most best, what people would call the most wanted form of development as far as development go coming up from adolescence to adulthood. Some people would rather avoid my upbringing because my upbringing wasn't necessarily an upbringing that brought me up. My upbringing threw me down before it brought me up.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it did. And I had to really learn how it had tore me down. My mom did the best she could do. But, you know, in this society where you have mother doing what she could do, and then you have the fathers and the males being up against a lot. So I'm not against my father at all. My father did what he could do to take care of me financially. But even when he passed and while he was living, my mom still had a husband. And he wasn't the best representation of a fatherhood, you know?
Okay.
So at the same time, my adolescence created a lot of anger in me. You know, seeing my mom go through fights and stuff like that with him as a young boy, that angers you. And so my upbringing, it endured a lot of good as far as when I woke up and my mom had went to work all those hours, and she made sure on Christmas, I'll say that on Christmas when everybody won all these toys, we didn't know we was in poverty on Christmas. We couldn't see that.
But you know what though? You came up that way. You had a working mother, and she was married, and you were in the household, right? And some things expired while you were in the household or outside the household, like far as you being abused or you experiencing some of the things that you did. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
On what happened outside the household?
Inside, what did it when you were abused? Was it inside the household or outside the household?
Well, I was abused psychologically because when parents go through things, period, I don't care if it's fussing and arguing or you hearing a bunch of yelling, which is why I try to be cognizant when I'm around my children. I have become better at that. I'm still working on that, not getting into confrontational dialogue with their mothers, because at the end of the day, it may not even be physical sometimes. Just the language that's used can become abusive and damaging to the psychology of a child's development. And I didn't understand it on that level back then. I just knew that I would see my mom at time getting fought on. And I'm like, yo, what do I do? You know, I'm 7 years old or 6 years old. How do you take that in? You know, you take that in when you don't even think you taking that in.
Absolutely.
Right. So you don't know how to actually comprehend it and break it down to, you know, so you can understand why this is happening. As a child, what is your role or what you're supposed to do? Because technically you really couldn't do anything, especially if it's with a grown person and you 6 or 7.
Right.
There's nothing you really can do, but as a child, mentally, it can affect you because you don't know how to comprehend or understand that. Like, okay, is this really supposed to happen or is this not supposed to happen?
Right.
So you kind of really don't know.
And you know, the average parents, and the average parents don't understand the different things. For instance, I use the 8 stages of development.
Right.
They don't even identify what stage their child is developing in. So if you don't identify what stage that child is in, you can't really identify what's needed for that level of development to particularly bring the best out of that human being. Right. So even when I do my podcast, The Press, the Prisoners Release Education Sanity Series, when I'm on that podcast and I'm talking about, I'm doing this series right now and I'm working on, we on the 5th part right now on who is responsible for children in America doing crime. Now, I lay a lot on the parents. I don't just lay a lot on the government or the city officials, which I do give them what they deserve too. But definitely the parents, like the parents need to understand that they're the first people that's taught to make their child a criminal.
Right.
On average.
And explain that why you say that.
Because mentally, a child's not born with a criminal mindset. And the mother is the first teacher of the child. The father, as a parent, he comes in at a certain place, but initially that mother is the first teacher of that child.
Okay.
Once that seed planted and that mother nurtures that child for those 9 months, that child have already started taking in everything that mother has, that she's taking in during those 9 months of maturity to get that child into this world through procreation. So now, when that father does happen to come in, you got to understand, from ages 0 to 2, the child is just trying to build, they're focusing on trust versus distrust.
Right. Okay.
If this child is not held properly, if this child is not changed properly,
So hold on.
this child
I
it's
get,
a
hold
form
on.
of neglect that
Right.
sets in the
I-
spirit.
Listen,
Go ahead.
I do understand what you're saying, but at the same time, so I'm just trying to follow you now. So are you saying that because the mother is the first teacher, the mother is the nurturer, right? Are you saying that she is responsible
No.
if the child becomes a criminal?
No. That's why I would let me.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So the mother, when I say the mother is the first teacher, the mother is the first teacher of the child, whether the child male or female. Because the mother is the first teacher of the child doesn't make the child a criminal. No, let's not misunderstand that. So the child is not just made criminal through the parents, but we're not gonna get away from the fact that the mother is the first teacher.
Okay.
Regardless of who become the second teacher or the third teacher or the fourth teacher, we have to deal with the one, because from one we get many.
Right.
All right. So now, basically, that first impression, that mind, that child is usually in the care of that mother.
Correct.
Even in most cases past 2 years old, because a lot of fathers out here from our community where I grew up from, they're either in prison, whether it's physically or psychologically. Because prison is mental and psychologically before it's physical. Because most times if you have a free concept about life, then the first form of freedom is yourself. And when you think about yourself being free, you're going to only think about it in proper terms with proper knowledge. That's why detailed work, for instance, when I talk about the Eferm and all this work, putting these museums out here to try to help people come home from prison and have an experience into something that would keep them from funneling themselves back to prison and suffering to recidivism. When we talk about this re-entry, this prevention and intervention projects, these are not projects that don't require detailed work, detailed focus. It's like an artist painting an art picture. It requires detail into everything to the point where if you don't do it with love, you're not going to develop the patience to continue to do this work. So from understanding that the mother is the first teacher, I have to start with that base. Like,
Right,
okay,
of course.
so how do I get to a point where I'm gonna be successful with a child if I'm not successful with understand who his first teacher is or who her first teacher is?
Right. So basically what
right.
you're saying is in order to get to the root of the problem, in order to get to the problem, you have to get to the root first.
You got to get to the root.
Right.
Right.
So if I can figure out when that mother had that baby, that father might not have been in the hospital. That mother was in the hospital when that baby was born. She can't duck it. The baby ain't come out of thin air.
Yeah, that's
It came out of her. So the father might be somewhere else, but the mother is there. That mother is that first nurturer.
Right.
She's that nurturing is teaching. It's a form of teaching. You're teaching care.
right.
You're teaching trust.
Right. So at the same time, when you teaching care, you teaching trust, right? We're only teaching what we know.
Right. That's why.
So that's why it can be it can be a family thing the way your kids end up going, because you was a kid, so your mother did what she can do for you. Then your mother was a kid, so her mother did what she can do for her. So
Right.
it becomes a pattern.
And then it becomes a pattern that if somebody in that chain or that pattern don't become aware of what's going on, because see, you can have a family that just haunted by darkness,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and if there's nobody in that family lineage that actually pulls themselves, and it's usually not going to be just one person.
Yeah. That's right.
It's usually 3, 4, 5 of them. But on average in our community, they already separated before they get themselves together to try to work on these issues.
Yeah.
I look at Suffolk, for instance. You know, and I know we should have the biggest family reunion in Suffolk, Virginia. There should be no family reunion in Suffolk, Virginia bigger than the Skinners, Tillerys, the Loaches, Willis. None. I mean, it's just no way.
Yeah.
We have a huge family. But my thing is, if somewhere you got to be honest, somewhere in the upbringing,
Yeah.
the love got lost.
Separated. Yeah.
The love got lost, and nobody want to really talk about the loss of the love. And that comes from not having a knowledge of self and not knowing the importance of reestablishing that foundation in order to build something. Because you're not going to build nothing on a foundation of hate.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
You're
and
not.
You know what? Stay right there, Omar. When you spoke about family and stuff like that, and somewhere something was actually lost, which is true. So when we realize that something is lost and we have a disconnect there, it's up to whoever can take the task on and do something about it. Because if we know that this chain has been broken somewhere, right? Okay, and at this point, and we're right here. But if we don't make a conscious decision to change and do better,
Facts.
it's going to continue to roll.
Facts.
Yeah.
And see, that's why personally, I was bent on putting that museum in Suffolk.
Okay.
To give first and foremost my family a base to change this mindset. But see, first you got to admit the mindset exists.
Right. Yeah.
True.
If you can't identify
right.
that we have a divided mindset,
Then nothing's going to change.
and it's sickening,
Yeah.
and nothing's gonna change for the better if there's no bridging the gap that's causing the separation. So check it out. How you can't bridge this gap if you can't respect wisdom. Because there's a hidden knowledge in the people with years of experience. That's why I go to the elders in my family. I go to them. I don't get to see them as much as I want to, but I go to them and I try to talk to them. But see, the youth in our family are being taught to admire the chains and the jewelry. That's my cousin, but they not being taught to admire the knowledge. So the knowledge is what has to be taken serious. At each one of them who want a chain or a watch or a ring with diamonds in it, guess what? They'll get it from setting up businesses through entrepreneurship. And if they don't want to be an entrepreneur themselves, they'll at least be connected to a co-op where some entrepreneurship is being practiced. And we all developing economically and financially.
So now you saying all of this, which I understand. So are you saying based on your upbringing, because I know Gam had asked you in reference to your upbringing when you was a child. So are you saying all of this in reference to your upbringing had something to do with how you was raised or how you turned out to be during your adolescence and how you are now in your adulthood?
Yes, because it's my upbringing and my history of my past life that gives me the passion to do what I do and to think how I think. Because I believe if there was unity instead of division, then I might not have seen the prison.
Right.
Because there's knowledge in unity.
Right, and that's true because someone in the unit
knows
gonna
something.
have some
Somebody knows something.
Right. So now when you was a kid, were you not well connected? I know you said, there were some things going on, with your mother and your stepdad.
Yeah, that was
so that might have changed you because mentally you might have been abused. So do you think that's what changed you? Or do you think the connection to your family changed you, or the nurturing of your mother? Like, what changed you from that 8-year-old boy you was talking about, or a 7-year-old boy you was talking about, to this, say, 14-year-old boy?
What changed me from the 17-year-old to
the
14?
7-year-old that you first mentioned?
17-year-old to 14 years old?
No, 7 years old to 14.
Yeah.
Because 7 years old, you're
a
kid. 14, you an adolescent.
Right, and you in your preteen years at 14. Well, as far as my upbringing from 7 years old to preteen years, I'll say that what changed didn't change for the better; it changed for the worse.
Right.
At that
So
point.
what changed?
Yeah,
what happened to make you change?
What changed is pretty much at that point I had started talking about. I had started not talking about it, but I had started robbing people by the time I was 14 years old.
Oh, you was 14? So
you said when I was 14.
Okay.
7 to 14.
So you said by the time you was 14, you had started, your behavior has changed for the worse. So around what age do you remember your behavior actually changing? That you went from being sweet, Amar, to now I'm gonna start doing this. Around what age can you remember?
I remember him being sweet.
That's why I girl say I've been sour all my life, I guess. Until I became conscious. I was sour. She right. I ain't gonna front. She thinks she joking me, talking about she remember me being sweet. I can take accountability. I was sour. Yes.
Well, you could have been sour at 5 years old.
I was sour. At 5 years old, I think at 7 years old, I was sleeping with a butcher knife under my pillow in case somebody. Yeah, because I was thinking in my head, like, if somebody was to come in my house and try to hurt my mom and my sisters.
So you
I
were
would have to
stuck on
protect
the
them
females
because
getting hurt.
I was stuck, because in some of that, I didn't realize as a child that some of that was coming from my mom having to fight this man when he feel like he want to put his hand on somebody.
Okay.
You know, and so I didn't realize some of that anger was coming from that. And so I was, and that protection, that overprotection at such a young age, like it was more so fear. Because out of not understanding what to do, because I mean, somebody got to be the man. I'm the oldest brother in the house. Between me and my brother is younger than me. My two sisters is older, and us four lived in the house. Okay. So off the top, as the older brother, I'm thinking I am the older brother, meaning I'm older than my sisters too. I am the man, because in my youth mentality, I couldn't see him as a man. I didn't think of it like that at that moment. But as I became more cognizant and aware through maturity, I realized some of that behavior from me came from not feeling like I had a man to really provide the protection that a father should provide. My father didn't stay in that home. My father was in another home. You know, but my thing is, I lived in the home with my stepdad and all my sisters and brothers' dad, except mine. So, pretty much in that household, it wasn't just me. He was aggressive with. He was overly aggressive and toxic with my sisters and brothers too, if he wanted to. But I just was the more like bucker, I guess.
Right, and you're in protection mode, so you feel like you're the. It's two boys, and it's two girls, but you feel like you're the, like you said, like you're the man. So when you in such a young age, you're trying to process being who you are, find out who you are, and then all this stuff right here going on, which is now we look at it, we know it's trauma.
Right, it's trauma. But see, that's what I'll really lead to. Like, I didn't identify it as trauma until I sat in that prison box. Right, correct. See, when I sat in that prison box, I started asking myself questions. You see, wise men ask themselves why. A fool never asks why. They just sat in it. So I sat in there and I asked myself, why I'm in the cell? Hold up. This here don't add up. This don't add up. There's a million other things I could be doing. What do I rather be doing than sitting in this cell? I start picking any opportunity. Like, I'd rather be in a 18-wheeler driving a truck all across the country and never see nobody no more than to never see nobody sitting in a cell because I'm sitting in a cell.
That's true.
At least driving an 18-wheeler, I can explore the world.
What end up landing you in that cell?
What ended up landing me in that cell?
Yeah, you said by 14 you was robbing.
What ended up landing me in that cell is because before I could, at 19 years old, I was incarcerated for first-degree murder charge, couple malicious woundings, some shooting in an occupied dwelling felonies. They gave me throwing missiles or something out of a moving vehicle, something like that. Then they gave me another, of course, the use of a firearm on two different occasions because of the fact that certain stuff happened at different times. Because I actually caught that murder case when I was on the run for shooting some guys out of gambling house, which was partly my fault, for shooting these guys at this gambling house because I didn't have to be over there. Right. And I didn't have a legal registered gun right now, but right now I got all my gun rights back. After doing all that time, ain't that a blessing?
Right. Yes, it is. It is.
So listening to you speak and knowing a little bit of your history, you're so passionate about all this now because of what you've been through. So like you were sitting in the box and then you realized the error of your ways, but it made you who you are today. So I know, in everything you probably like. I was a sour kid. You wasn't overall a sour kid, but you had your things like vices just like anybody else. Right. But it made you who you are. So is there anything that you look back and you say, you know what, maybe I could have did that different, and this is why I could have did different?
Yes, it is a lot of things I look back on that I could have did different, even though I understand destiny and I look at fate versus will. Now I know that my experiences is partly what make me who I am, so that I can actually carry out the work that this journey requires. This journey requires a certain level of work. It requires mindfulness. If you're not cognizant of what's going on in the here and now, you're gonna be lost on what to do in the future. And if you're not aware of what happened in your past, then there's no way you're gonna be knowledge of what's going on in your present.
Correct.
So if I don't appreciate that history and look at it for what it taught me as being a blessing to my present stance in life, then I won't be able to appreciate where it could take me any further. So I have to look at it and say, okay, this was part of my destiny that was meant for me to experience in order to have the empirical evidence I need to carry out a certain work during this journey that I'm on. It's a lot of people that don't understand. They can't forgive themselves for the stuff that they done did out there in the past, because they can't see a future for themselves. And that comes from, if you look at the Bible, it says what? A person with a lack of vision should perish, right? So if you don't,
lack of vision,
so if you don't have vision and you should perish, then basically that means you perishing because you can't see nothing in the future, right? So you can't see nothing. So I tell people all the time, I say, man, look, know your past, don't get stuck on it, but know your past so you can understand your present, so you won't be blind to how to plan for your future.
I get that. I think some people don't want to visit or won't have a vision because they don't want to go back to their past. Some people are ashamed of their past. Some people don't want to visit because in order to move forward, you have to go back. But when you go back, you're revisiting everything that happened in your life, and so does that mean that you have to go through? And some people don't want to go through
because they can elevate trauma. If you're not ready to, and I go into certain psychological things like we was talking about earlier about the you said we were talking about unity and people just wanted a small piece of the pie.
Exactly.
But in psychology, in Western psychology, if you look up the Gestalt, where it talk about the sum is never greater than the whole. Whatever that missing piece is that's keeping that path from being whole, if you can identify that piece in your life, you can fix your life. But you first got to be able to identify what is the missing piece of the path. You may not be able to put that piece back. Knowledge of self allow you to practice things like that for yourself. Grounding techniques. That
Breathing
you can use
like that,
for yourself. So you got to know your history to know what you need to work on in your now. So being mindful is like number one for me. There's no way I could overlook my past. Because when I look at my past, it motivates me to look at my future nephews, nieces, of course my children, my little cousins. It helped me look at youth that's not even no connection to me through the bloodline. And say, you know what? If I could get them to understand something simple as the amygdala hijack, they can understand how to unplug before they go into fight or flight mode. Because that's what's happening when they pop, 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 shooting each other.
Exactly.
You in fight or flight mode. There's a fight or flight mode situation, which a lot of times is going on before they even get there to their scenery. And that take place. It's already happening. They already enraged before they reach that destination where that crime take place.
So basically what you're saying, it don't got nothing to do with that. It don't have anything to do with that scenery per se. It's something that happened prior. So when they get there, they already amped up and ready to go. It's already
because it's a predetermined anger in them a lot of times. Of course, you may have one that they find at the scenery on the defense. Or just prepared for that in the case where it happens because they know the type of lifestyle they living or not living, and they just know what's out here in the world. But I'm telling you, anger management is how you study and master the character of that amygdala part of your brain. Because that amygdala part of your brain is a smaller gray form of matter that's in your brain, and it's like an almond shaped type of matter, and it actually controls your emotional part of your body to keep you from like
enraging
and going. But when it's depleted of energy to perform its duty, it's like it's being hijacked with a gun.
So
but the gun is the toxic and the stimuli that's coming in from the outside. So like I told you, if a person really want to learn about that stuff, they go to cdcoachinggroup.com and watch the anger management documentary for $9.99. If they can't do that, why would I take my time and talk to them for 3-4 hours to their kid or their child if you're not serious about investing $10 in your child?
Okay, so you're mentioning this, but what is this? Right. I know you're mentioning, I know it's part of your thing, but I need you to let people know
it's available
exactly.
for the services available for them.
Right, but I need you to go back to let people know, exactly what you're talking about when you're mentioning the $9.99 or the anger management thing. Right. The reason, like, what kind of program is that you're referring to, or the reason why you're mentioning this program?
Well, the reason I'm mentioning it because we're talking about anger management right now. Right. And we're talking about the amygdala hijack. Right. And in learning about the amygdala hijack, you will discover that if you're in a good anger management course.
I get it. So, but how do we get the thing is, even though you've created the curriculum, right, and you can put it to the test, you believe that this curriculum will.
It's been put to the test at New York University. It was taught to.
So you did your research on it. You got your data on it. But how do we get those there? Like, we understand the curriculum, right? But how do if I have a child, or if I'm in need of, I need that service, how are you going to get me there?
You could go online once again.
No, not go online.
How I'm gonna get you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
what are you gonna say to me to get me thinking? You know what? I might need that service.
All that I said to you right now, if that don't help you identify you need that service, you need to figure out what you need to listen to, because there's nothing else I have to say in order to get a person to understand that this might be something that can actually encourage an understanding about the amygdala part of my brain. Most people listening to this probably never heard the word amygdala. So if this not enough for me to conversate this, see, that's the thing. I don't fight with people who don't want to learn. Right. I'm not gonna make them come to me. Like, it's no getting you there. Like, if you want to be there, it's available at cdcoachinggroup.com for them to engage and latch onto the products. Not only at that website, they can go to amarskinner.com. They can go to eferm.org, EFERM.org. That's the museum website. When you link into it, either way, you're going to link into the funnel of education.
Right. Okay. And I get it. I get what you're saying. But I don't want you to think that I'm attacking anything.
No, you're not attacking me. Don't just. I speak with passion. You good.
Right. Because I know. I understand that you're a Skinner, right? So y'all a little more
Skinners
passionate.
Are winners. What that mean? Skinners are winners. I understand you artillery, but I ain't calling you silly. But so what you saying about Skinners? Cause we don't get it. Y'all want some entertainment? We gonna give y'all some entertainment on Wait a Damn Minute.
Right.
Wait a damn minute.
But yeah, so
minute. Go ahead.
But what I was saying was, for real, like, seriously though, like, you have really implemented like a lot of different courses that I think could be very instrumental to the youth and to people in general, right? But the thing is, you have the museum there, and it's beautiful. Like, it's well thought out. You could tell that it wasn't an architect. It was somebody who actually lived that life, right?
Right.
So with that being said, I'm trying to figure out, how do we get people to where you are? Because listening to you speak, I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if they're willing to change, if they acknowledge that they have an issue, then they come to you. But what about meeting those people where they are? How do we get those people to Eferm?
And that's the key, is to always have a platform to meet them where they are. This is why I write curriculums. Okay. I write books, but I started writing curriculums for that very reason. Let me meet you where you are. And it's what really opens up the doors of a future for us. Because my thing is, when I meet a person, I'm not just meeting them without a plan. I think legacy. So I'm meeting them with an idea in mind already. I got a preconceived idea about how I might can share empathy in life with this person. It's not a matter of me meeting them trying as a capitalist-minded individual and trying to see how I could just come up off them. Like, how can I be of an assistance to secure more life with this person? Because in being that assistance, guess what happens? That's the karma I build. I don't have to get paid back from that individual right there.
Right.
That's the karma that I build for my life. That's my spirituality. Like, and that's why I could go in, I could build with people from any religious background. I could talk to them. I could communicate with them. I don't believe that they're not one of a positive spirit. They have that in them. It's all in what's been exercised and what's been pretty much introduced and not introduced to that individual. So I don't believe that they're just born of the devil. Nah, let's go back up.
Yeah, let's
good in that person.
Let's change that mindset.
So you have all the coaching and the anger management. You had the museum. So did all of this start while you was in prison yourself? This is what came to your mind, like, hey, let me figure out how to do this. How did you come about deciding to do all of these things you're doing now to help others? What happened? Like, I know we talked before and I asked you, I said, so what happened that took place to make you, what changed you? And you told me, them 58 years.
Yeah.
You said them 58 years changed.
Right. They tried to give me a 58-year plea bargain at 19 years old. Like, literally, it was to the point where they did not want me to see the free world again when they put their hands on me at 19 years old. And there was a lot of people who didn't want me to see the free world again. But that wasn't the plan for me.
Right.
That wasn't the plan for me. And I didn't see it like that. Because for every story that was reported to society through the news about me murdering somebody and basically making it look like I murdered somebody and just robbed them and killed them and all this and that, it was a bigger story than that. I knew the story. I knew I was getting lessons then for life, though. I was getting lessons not to believe the hype.
Right, okay.
At a very young age. Because you don't know the full story. So where they see that I'm never coming home, my high school friends, and they looking at it like, well, he gone, he out the way. The haters, they looking at it like, yeah, because I had some haters in high school. I walked around a big Rolex necklace. Do you remember that, Chevelle? I had a Rolex bracelets. I had some haters in there. They were glad I was gone. Some of them dudes that was in there that just think negative and really didn't have love for you. They like, well, he out the way. He won't be back. But at the same time, that was motivation for me because that I was determined that nobody in my high school graduate class would graduate and be more successful than me. I determined that in a cell at 19 years old, sitting in Suffolk Regional Jail, facing murder. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna beat this. I was like, I'm gonna beat this. I'm getting up out of here. I said, this story ain't happened like they trying to paint the picture. I was shot at. Yeah, it's bigger than what they trying to paint. I said, so guess what? I'm gonna make sure that my future, when I get out of here, it don't look like the vision that's in these people's head. Right. And as I start studying and learning more and more and more, I started realizing, honestly, the people out here didn't know much that graduated with me. Right. That journey they was on, that they was trying to learn. God had set me down and put me in a box where I ain't had to worry about the light bill and the water bill. All I had was time. You know what? I said, I'm going to smoke they boots. While they graduate high school and they go to college and they going to go in college, they going to be partying, bull crapping, barely passing their degree, just getting pushed through. I said, you know what? I had that experience already. I was graduating high school before I got locked. I didn't get to graduate. When my brother was going to graduation, we was graduating the same year. My mom had to hang up the phone. I was pissed. Excuse my language. I was ticked off that she had to hang up the phone with me so she could go to my brother's graduation. But I was in that regional jail, and I went back to the cell, and I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Ain't nobody in that high school gonna graduate. When I get out of here in 10 years, I'm gonna be just as successful as them. Ain't nobody gonna graduate from Nansen River High School in year of 1997 and be more successful than Amar Skinner.
Yeah.
That was my motivation for years. But after a while, that got boring, because when I came home, they ain't showed me nothing for real. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been looking for who doing something for real. For the community now, that's graduated from my class in 1997. Who's doing something for these communities? I look for that. I haven't found that yet. That's really going hard with the community.
Right.
Okay, it was with community.
Connect me to them. I ain't saying
no,
it ain't nobody.
no,
I just want
now.
you to connect me to them.
Now that I can't,
Because I ain't got none that I know.
I definitely can't connect you to them. But in all fairness, they may be doing something, but may not be doing something in the community.
I'm talking about the community. I'm not talking about what they doing.
That's what he
Don't
said.
change my words up. I'm talking about in the community. Show me who's doing something in the community that's really serious about preventing these youth from developing these criminal mindsets that ain't really just trying to capitalize off them with a dollar.
Right.
Put your money where your mouth is. My thing is, I've done that for years. Nobody gave me a dime for this museum project.
Right.
Yeah, but I accept sponsors because I got things they can sponsor.
Right.
However, I don't have to beg for sponsors because the Almighty Creator ain't put me in the position to need them to get the building.
Right, I do.
And I'm not saying I don't appreciate them if they was to come, but I don't have to beg them to pay for a project that's literally showing them that it could basically help children.
Okay,
not develop a criminal mind.
Listen to this now. We know, like, when it comes to political people, we know that, and people of authority or who can change things, they're not really into saving the kids. They're not really into curbing the violence and stuff like that, right? So what can we do as a community? You having this museum in the city of Suffolk, what can we do to get the kids into your program?
Exactly what you just said. We should first, well, you ain't said in those exact words, but we should first understand that the mindset of a lot of these leaders is not to get the children to the programs that can help them. Once we identify that fact, we can stop depending on them to do what we need to do as a community of parents. A community, I mean, come on, man. It shouldn't be one church in our city that's got a preacher in that church that's not saying, let me try to get a group of these youth and bring them down to that museum to deal with this prison ministry, this guy, because that's what it is. That's my ministry. That's my prison ministry. So that's right. It's my way of preventing children from going to prison and those from coming home from basically encouraging a criminal mind development in the youth that's looking up to them. Because you better believe, I know, when you come home from prison after doing that time, you have a lot of younger generations that came up, saw what you was doing, that look up to you like, yo, you made it up out of that. You the man. Now let me see what you gonna do. And all based on what you do, they learn from it. So I refuse to took that type of credibility from the young brothers that come from my hood, that watch me come up. I refuse to use that wrong. I want them to see me doing exactly what I'm doing so they can say, you know what? When I do get my money right, that's what I can do with it. And they don't know it cost me how much. They don't know how much money it cost me to put this project together or these projects. They just know it won't free. And they mind like, yo, somebody's sponsoring this dude. This is entrepreneurship. Pay attention, and attention to pay you back. The museum says Eferm. It says ex-felon. That's the past. Entrepreneurship retail. That's the current practices that produce the future, which is the museums all around the country as a prevention, re-entry, and intervention hub that stop crime and stop the criminal mind development. Of course, you ain't going to stop crime 100% around the world, but guess what? You can put a dent in it if you're serious about doing that.
Right.
This thing that I'm doing going far, it ain't depending on none of these city leaders. And when they ready to come to their senses and realize God ain't gonna let us ignore that, they'll give me a call. Because I'm not gonna beg them to do what I know they told the people they had knowledge that they could do. Because they told them people before they got in that seat, oh, we're gonna address drugs and crime. We're gonna address mass incarceration. Oh, we're gonna address it, buddy, and we're gonna get to the bottom of it. But as soon as it was time, they said,
Oh no.
don't talk about that too loud.
That's
And I put it to the
true.
test. That's why I did what I did to get my. That's the real you speaking to the lower self about right guidance. Right guidance, rightness versus wrongness. So if you listen to it, see, I had a reason to start listening to it. I knew when I said in that penitentiary, that's why people say what they want about jail. I don't care what you say, I lock some of these chumps up because it'll educate them. It'll educate them to really take a look. If they get around the right people, it'll educate them to really take a look at how you have no empathy for the victim that you parenting on. You don't want nobody to rob and smack your mama up.
Yeah,
that's true.
You don't want nobody to kidnap your child. You don't want nobody to shoot your brother. You don't want nobody to shoot your daddy. So you don't have empathy. If you feel like you can just wake up and go out there and just bow, you don't have empathy. Empathy is when you're able to put yourself in the shoes of other people and feel the disappointment that they would feel. That's why I believe in teaching victim impact training, so that these criminals will understand, hold up, this is how it feels to be treated that way. And when you start to educate them on that, you wake them up. Because these criminals ain't just no people that came from my community. And I don't want you to get that twisted.
Oh, yeah.
These criminals are people who got on three-piece suits with bow ties and neckties. They criminals too. The criminals don't just look like the person in the jogging suit with the Jordans on that's loose and wearing the jewelry. I wear that so that they'll know they can look like they want to look and still not be a criminal. They can look like they want to look and still write books. They can look like they want to look, but understand your image going to be tested. If you ain't serious about that, you can't represent that image. Your image going to be tested. So if you don't understand the image that you're bringing forth, then take a look in the mirror and educate yourself. Because I know how I look when I walk out the window. Out the door. I know how I look. And I know that a lot of people other than me know how they look when they walk out the door. They look in the mirror. They see if they wipe all the white crust off their mouth. The women, they turn around with them tight stuff on and think ain't nobody going to look at them when they walk out in society, which is totally delusional.
Yeah,
you getting looked at. Yeah. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to watch something tight. Damn, I might not even want you, but I saw you. Know what I'm saying? I see you.
Yeah.
So, but don't think that I'm blind, because you're not blind. And see, I'm conscious. I know you're not blind. I know you saw that gap. I know you saw it before you walked out that house, and I watch you. Yep, I saw it, even though I might not pay 10 feet of attention, but I saw you in 2 feet.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I stopped looking at 3, though, because it ain't that important. See, I understand that out of maturity.
Yeah.
But there was a time when I didn't understand it, and instead of stopping looking at it at 2 feet, I'd have chased it the whole 10 feet. Hey, what's up? La, la, la.
Yeah.
Now keep walking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to cause me drama. If I fall in love with you and you dressing like that, I'm going to be arguing with you every day. So what in the world? I don't got time for all that.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying? You want me to fall in love with you? Really?
Yeah.
I'd rather in love with somebody who know how to dress in 3/4 or something.
So sad. So and listening to you talk, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to feel where you're coming from. Although most of us haven't been in your shoes, right? But because of the life that you had and you did some things that you're doing, and now you're trying to create these museums all around the world. Why do you think your museum is different from any other museum?
Okay, I can't give you my whole business concept, all right? Because this is not a non-profit. This is a ain't nobody gave me no money for this project. I just know it can help people, and people pay for help. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I'm going to charge every person in poverty $20 to come in that museum, or $30 or $40, whatever the price is at the time when they show it, depending on what they're showing up for. So my thing is, I have programs that I've selected to implement to get people toured into this museum. I have toured multiple people through here for free, but however, it's a bigger plan. What you're looking at is the prototype. I have a whole plan for a museum in Washington D.C. that's going to be major for everybody to travel to. And they'll travel to it for specific reasons, because they're going to see the change in the youth that come to it. And they're going to be talking about it all around the country. And that museum in D.C. going to happen even if I had to pay for it myself. It's going to take place. I'm going to have that project in D.C. because that's the national place where everybody in America pretty much look to as the capital, and for solutions for things they got going on that they have issues about. They look at the Pentagon. That's up there. They look to the Pentagon. They look to the White House for solutions. So that's why I'm putting this museum at. They're going to look to the Eferm for solutions. And right up in D.C., so get ready. I'm talking to you, Biden and Trump, too. If you get in that office, Trump, give me that money for that museum. Do that. They throwing money to all these other countries for everything except for what could really educate the people in America itself.
Right.
That's
so I
crazy.
get that. So but how is Biden? How is Trump? How is I forgot the other guy who's running. How are they gonna know that it's there? Like how? I mean, you have
because he just said he want them to give him the money. They give him the money, they'll know.
You said how they gonna know it's there?
How they gonna know it's there? Is what I'm saying.
Well, you know the word, and that's the thing. You can't blame people for what they do not know necessarily. At times, it's my job to relate it to the public, and so I'm doing that. However, when you hear me speak about government officials and stuff that don't do what they're supposed to do, and that knows and have ignored certain projects, that I'm speaking on people I know that did that.
Okay.
See, I know the mayors in these cities not blind that's near this museum. I know that the city manager's not blind. I'm very approachable. Well, I'm not going to say I'm very approachable. Hold up.
Yeah, take that back.
Let me take that back.
Change it up a little bit.
I'm not very approachable to people who like to talk to people they can bull crap with. Like, I'm not approachable for those people. Like, I'm approachable for people who want to deal with truth and want to actually not try to run game on me. If you want to love me, I'm approachable. I ain't against being loved.
Yeah.
But I'm against what I think is hate, or I perceive as hate. Perceived as hate to approaching me like, but if it's coming with if you coming with love, we can talk all day. The thing is, people really not coming with love, and when you're not coming with love, you scared to talk to love because love might reveal that you hate.
Ooh,
I'm just telling you, it's real.
That's true. That's true.
It might reveal that you was a hater. That's what real love do. Real love, look, love is intense concern for that which you understand. It's the highest elevation of understanding. When a person tell you they love you, tell me how and why.
Show me.
Yes.
You can't tell me. So I ain't gonna knock you for not knowing the love language, but you talking about you love me though. So tell me how and why you love me. Because that you can understand, because love is the highest elevation of understanding. It's no understanding that takes the place higher in the form of love, because love is where you intensely involve yourself with those entities you say you care about. Not just you say, you show them.
Show, yeah.
Yeah, you gonna cook that child food tonight because you love them. You don't want to starve, and then in a casket for starvation, you lie to kill yourself. That's love. See, you don't ignore what you love.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, people that it might ignore it for a little while, and they'll be like, "Oh no, I got to go. It's gonna become a life or death situation." They ain't gonna ignore it to the death. But when you don't love yourself, is my point. You ignore yourself to the death.
But at the same time, some people don't love themselves.
No.
So when you don't love yourself, then you can't.
How can you love yourself when you've been taught to hate yourself? Yeah. When everything you've been taught is about something that's evolving, some type of element that's going to produce self-hatred. Like, we have a community that hates the self. We don't like the way we look necessarily. Sad. We want to look like everybody but ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do that. I'm like, look, I even tell my daughters, don't look to social media, not TikTok, not YouTube, none of these videos. Don't look to nobody for your image of who you are, because self-image psychology is real. Like, how you vision and view yourself is what you start to create. Like, you start to move based on that, and I'm gonna tell you, it's true. The creation is never greater than the creator. However, you can create some mess. You can create a mess.
Yeah, because you got go back to the parents. You got a lot of parents who created some mess.
Parents create a mess.
Yeah.
They do. They create a mess. I was created as a mess, not intentionally.
Right.
Because I tell anybody, my mom is the one. You want a mama like mine. She going hard for you. Yeah. When nobody matter, you gonna matter as a child. My mom gonna go hard. But guess what? That mother needing that male relationship. Cause I even had to get over being mad sometimes, thinking about, Mom, why you stay with this dude? When I was younger growing up.
Right.
Like, what you staying with him for? But that ain't make me forget how hard she went for me and mine. She went hard. And when I was in that prison, she kicked that door down. I had to tell her sometimes, Mom, don't come see me this weekend.
Right.
Don't come see me this weekend. I'm good, Mom. I'm good. Just come every other week. Instead of every week, she'll come every week for years. Every week, Mom, come every other week. Take a break so you don't have to drive. They sending me down these penitentiaries. Then they send me up in the mountains. She come. I'm in the hole.
That's what I'm saying. So you was in the mountain because of you in there getting in trouble.
They sent me, because when the first 5 years I was locked up, I was getting in trouble pretty bad. I wouldn't listen to nothing as far as like adjusting to the rules that they had placed upon you to tuck your shirt in. I just thought it was so like, it was just too informal. I'm in my mind, I'm like, I don't need to be educated on tucking my shirt in. What is this harming you? I'm in penitentiary already. Let me go get my food from the child hall or wherever I'm going with my shirt out and get right up. So, it's stuff like that where you learn to like discipline yourself. It's like, you don't got a choice whether to keep your shirt out or in when you go into a restaurant. And that's not a restaurant. That's a penitentiary child hall.
Right.
A dining hall that you going in and get a tray of food, some prison food, and you ain't got your shirt tucked in. Okay, we're going to write you up. You're on the boulevard with your shirt out. Blah, blah, blah. And you like, what? So the first 5 years, it was that little petty stuff that I had to adjust to. Because I was like, yo, you write me up. When I go up for my annual review, they taking 4-5 days, meaning when my release date come, I'm not going home on that day. Yeah. I ain't gonna never be able to get these days back. You take it from me, they gonna change this time to 85%. That's how it was when I was locked up. So I'm like, okay. So now I'm young, stupid already. So I better not say some of the things I did. Because some CO correctional officers caught some hell for doing some stuff to me. And we did get away with some of it when we was younger. We did, before they started putting all these cameras and all that inside them dorms and stuff. We got away with some stuff. But yeah, we'll break y'all for a little piece if you thought you were going to come up in there and harass us and go home to your little merry day. Because some stuff, it really do be petty. Yeah. It's certain stuff that I seen in the system where irresponsible nitpicking take place from correctional officers to the inmates, because you just seeing the inmates as convicts and inmates who just a number. And basically, they don't have no freedom. So, but the thing is, they got freedom to pick some up and bust you in your head. You forgetting you in there with them. Right. You need to show some respect. And they need to respect you too, but you need to show some respect. And some...
how are you different from the old Amar to now? Like, when you think back and you look...
I'm awake now. Like, I wasn't awake back then. I was asleep. I was sleepwalking. Like, you got sleepwalkers out here. I'm free now. I was incarcerated psychologically. It don't matter whether I was in prison or out here before I went to prison. I was locked up the whole time. Because I was incarcerated to unchecked emotional trauma that I didn't understand. I thought it was normal to rob people and shoot people, and I didn't feel like I was really doing nothing wrong. The only thing I felt was wrong if I got caught by the police. And so me, as long as I could get away, I was good. I was right. I'm good. And it's a lot of you feel like that. And the fact that they aren't connected to some of these programs, they're going to keep feeling like that. Right. Trust me. Because when they get connected to programs, they're going to start hearing me talk about on these video, audio trainings about healing. They're going to start hearing me talk about, like, this is what being a man is. This is what being a wholesome person is. This is what being a broken person is. This is what being a Viking is, a savage, an uncivilized barbarian versus being a civilized, wise individual. See, a lot of these young boys don't know out here that when they get grown, that woman don't want your dumb butt. You ain't educating yourself now because you're dealing with little girls.
Right.
When you start dealing with women, she don't want your dumb tail. She looking at you like, oh, you just a keep me. If you want to keep it, or read my book if you don't want your man to run, because that ain't just for women. Men need to read that book because it give them an education about. That's why I say on the back, it's questions for women, but education for men. Because it'll give men a lot of reasons on why women run from them too. Because women don't, let me tell you something. America has a relationship gap where people don't want to be bothered, male or female now. It's getting to the point like, I don't want to be shot down with you and bothered with you. I see you when I see you. I want my space. That's how it's becoming in our society. And you got to ask yourself, is this going to become like that? How we going to build family?
Procreate, yeah.
We ain't going to build no family. So what happens when what happens to the black family? It gets basically dismantled and it disintegrates. It just
goes away.
Goes to nothing. Because everybody and nobody takes it serious. They just look at it like, oh, it ain't nothing. It's just, most people are selfish. They're living to die. I'm going to be straight up. They ain't living to build nothing for their youth and leave nothing behind. They living to die.
That's true. That's true. I think a lot of people doing that.
They think that's delusional.
Yeah.
I am living in live because when I go to heaven, I'm going to be up in the pearly gates and I'm going to, nah, Jack. Live to live on earth. Live to let somebody live after you gone. Do that. That's unselfish. When you build something for somebody that you know you ain't even going to benefit off of it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be dead and gone. They're going to be benefiting off of it while you dead and gone. That's leaving legacy behind. That's leaving something behind for your people.
Now, what my last question, one of my last questions to you is,
we got a hater in the audience, y'all, but I ain't gonna call out her name, but she over there.
my question to you is, Omar versus Amar. Are they two in the same, or are they different?
Two different characters? That's funny you say that, because it made me think of some stuff. Like, I've been called a lot of names. But my name is Amar. Amar Skinner with an A. A-M-A-R. Skinner, S-K-I-N-N-E-R. All right? Amar Skinner is not Omar Skinner. My son named Omar Skinner, though. And I named him Omar because everybody knew me as Omar. And so I said when I was locked up, my son's mother was still pregnant with my son. And, and he was in that shootout, unborn, that I had when I caught the murder charge, ironically. He was in his mom's stomach, and she was out there and in the car when they started shooting at me. But when Omar was born, I thought to myself, like, okay, I'm in jail. They might gonna give me a life sentence because I won't innocent. I won't totally guilty of everything they did to me, tried to do to me. But I won't innocent neither. I was guilty of some stuff. I had to learn some things, you know. I used to think it was okay to shoot people, and you know, if you shot them long, you got away with it. Like I said, you were good. So I needed some help. So Omar was my way of trying to stay alive out here. When I named my son Omar instead of Amar, I named him Omar because I also knew it was one of the caliphs of God, where Omar is a warrior for God, and I understood that. But I love my name, Amar. Amar, it means immortal, everlasting, unending. That's what it means. It's Amar Rashid Skinner. Rashid means humbly devoted. And like I said, Skinners are winners.
Who told you that?
Gambriel. Who told me that?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
Life-
we already know that.
Life showed me that.
Okay.
We already know
Like-
how
okay.
the Gambrels. I mean, that's just it's
Gambrels are well, but Skinners are winners.
and ain't nothing wrong with that.
And Tillery ain't silly. She is just acting dilly. She just acting dilly today.
You know what? I have enjoyed our conversation. Like we can talk.
But either way, y'all family.
We family. That's my family.
Absolutely.
Wait a damn minute. What you say? We family.
That's right.
Wait, I like that though. Wait a damn minute. WAGM.
So being that we're right there, we're about to wrap up. How has your time been on Wait Again Minute today?
Oh, it's been cool. Yeah, it's been cool. Everything always good to have an empowering conversation that just can actually someone can get takeaways from. And anywhere I go and speak, my terminal objective is to give someone a takeaway at some point where they can get some life out of it and replace some previous void information that they was in need of and fill it. In other words, wherever it was a void concept or idea in their head about something they needed to know, if we able to fill that void and give them some life there, that's my goal in any conversation that I have. But I appreciate y'all calling me up here. That's peace. And this is my family, so I do this for y'all. Anybody else, I won't. I ain't gonna put no price on it. We'll talk about it. Right. Because beneath all that is a lot of times it's humiliation, disappointment, fear. You got a lot of things besides just the anger that people see. There's psychodynamics, meaning that underlying behavior. And I'm gonna tell you, like our parents, they in their defense, they wasn't on average educated about the psychological conditions that we was actually gonna suffer from. That's why the conditions was allowed to be created. Yeah. That's why they was allowed to be created. That the criminal mind is a created mindset. It's no child is born with that criminal mindset. Yeah. Not one child born with it. It's a develop and learn concept behavior, about life and how to provide economics for yourself in many cases, or sometimes just how to fulfill a false happiness.
I really enjoyed talking to Amar.
Thanks.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. I really enjoyed talking to you. I enjoyed each conversation because it seemed like, I like the fact that you accept and take accountability for what happened as when you was a teenager.
Yes.
You understand why it happened, and you understand and you accept it, and you accept your growth and your where you at now and where you're going.
That's right.
But I also like the fact that you're really passionate about how you can help, that you found and figured out your purpose.
Facts.
And that's, you had to go through what you went through so you can know your purpose, because how are you going to be able to help and explain like the things you're saying?
Exactly.
I can't translate that to another kid or even another teenager or adult, because you have some adults that's still out here running around like the kids.
Yes, they do.
And then you have some adults that's out here not only running around like the kids, but they're getting the kids to do certain things for them, so they can catch a charge as a kid versus as an adult.
Yeah, and see, that's one of my goals with the guys coming home from prison, man, is to let them know and understand that, this is a movement that we have in our hands as a responsibility, as a unit of a whole American group of ex-felons to come together from these experiences we had and actually make sure none of these youth carry out those same experiences.
Right.
And we can't do it scattered everywhere. We have to build some solid unit where they can identify nationally as this is the purpose of that.
Right.
This is its purpose. This is the purpose of this place. This place is where we go in America to stop ourselves from repeating this constantly rotation and cycle of mass incarceration, suffering as a result of not using what's been given us naturally, which is our tags.
Right.
People try to hide good work.
Yeah.
And if you don't put it out there yourself, it'll never get out there.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I'm willing to take that 22, ain't but $2,200, put that up, put the billboard up for a few months. I keep on paying it every month if I have to, till that point get across.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You definitely have some good stuff. You're on the right track. I don't want you to get discouraged at all, and I just want you to know that, it's gonna be okay.
Right.
It's definitely okay.
Right.
It's
And I
definitely
know it will. I'm not really worried about it from an aspect of it not being okay from the people, because I know that the people that need it is gonna get it. It's a divine movement. It's a divine inspired movement. I don't feel like this project was given to me. I mean, was just mine. I feel like this project came to me as a responsibility from higher sources to do, because I was just riding down the street. I didn't have a 10-year plan to start a museum. I was doing works to try to prevent and re-establish grounds of structure for our people not to constantly fall victim to this mass incarceration situation that I had fell victim to as a teenager, and didn't get to see none of my 20s in this society.
Right.
Came home 30 years old. So my thing is, I try to make sure I have a structured platform to present, so it will be okay for the people that come in contact with it. But as far as for me, like, I got to be honest, I'm okay.
Is your trust based on your past?
My trust, some of it is based on my past. Any type of past experience you have with forbidden environments are going to create a form of PTSD for you. And see, that's why I believe, and I be like, all Americans have some form of PTSD.
You ain't never lie about it.
I said, you lying if you think you don't know your experience. If you've had an upbringing in America and you've been involved in the social development of American society, and you've been out there, you have some form of PTSD.
Yeah.
If you understand trauma, then you know. See, that's what makes you so intelligent and able to actually counteract the drama and trauma that would destroy you and would destroy other people, when you can see your own trauma. See, when people can't see their own trauma, they don't got no empirical evidence at a solution. See, empirical evidence is based on what you did and what you've been through. As an ex-felon, you think I expect you to be able to talk to an ex-felon better than I can?
Right.
But do you think I could talk to a woman that's been through something you dealt with your whole life as a woman better than you can? If that ain't my experience, and that's something that you done learned to specialize your approach to, constantly creating solutions not to fall as a victim to that problem. It could be an ex-crackhead. If that ex-crackhead has cured their habits and they are functional and on accord with doing what they need to do to provide a successful life and a future as a normal human being, civilized human being would do, guess what? That ex-crackhead is probably the 9 times out of 10 going to be the more better teacher of bringing up that other person out of that crack addiction than that person that just graduated that 4-year college.
That being said, stay tuned to All Things Wait a Gam Minute.
Good night.